Hey everybody, welcome back to Andertons TV. I'm joined with John.
Digital John.
I don't know if we haven't a name for him. Digital John.
Digital John.
Perhaps we shall call him that. Okay. John, who is, grew up, learned to play guitar using this kind of technology.
Yeah.
And so hopefully in these videos, you will get a slightly more open-minded and contemporary point of view than some of the old dinosaurs that you sometimes see on this channel. So what have we got today, John?
So we have a HeadRush MX5 over here, and then on the right, Pod Go. Both around the same price point, right?
So we've chosen a couple of the most popular guitar multi-effects units for about £400 in the UK. You are hearing both of them straight into our computer interface. So everything, amp modeling, effects, everything is all coming from within one of these two units.
And we've set up a patch that's pretty much identical, as close as we can get, realistically. And basically the idea is to just see which one, plays the best, feels the best, sounds the best, all those categories, and see which one we like the most.
Yeah. John's got some basic kind of headline facts about the two units. But yes, I think we've intentionally not tried to be sort of super expert, read all the manuals and all the user guides and the forums and everything about these two. We're kind of not winging it, but kind of just trying to get a sense of which one do we feel is easiest to use. And obviously, tonally speaking, we'll have a preference. Hopefully you'll have a preference as well. So what are the headline facts about these two units, John?
So the MX5 has 46 amps, which is quite a fair deal. If with modelers, I tend to sort of have 3 of my favourites. So I'm sure even in 46, there's going to be something you can use in there. But the Pod HD, not Pod HD.
That's right.
Pod Go, rather, has 87, so basically twice as many. And I think that's because, Line 6 has been around more, they've got more of the sort of profiles. No, what's the word? What's the Line 6 word? Models?
Models,
yeah.
Yes. That includes bass models in here, so I guess there's about 10% of the amps, or maybe a bit more than that, are bass, but still a lot, right?
Yes.
I can't even think there are 87 amps that exist in the world, but I guess there must be.
And like I say, you're going to have one that you go to. That's my experience anyway. And the main things for me is that the HeadRush is more tactile with a touch display. And you may find, you're more of a dials guy or girl, and the Pod HD Go is more your thing. Looking at them, both have expression pedals, so you could gig with them, use them live, and any of that functionality that you may find useful. The next big thing I would say is the Pod obviously has more foot switches, so you may find that as a bit more, even more flexible, but it depends whether you're you're a live player, you're a home player, because I think the touchscreen kind of is what I would get drawn towards.
Yeah.
Even though, the Line 6 dials is pretty foolproof, and once you get the gist of it, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, you can load your IRs in as well. So if you have your favorite IRs, you can load them in. They've both got they both got USB?
Yeah, they both got USB, they've both got effects loops. The HeadRush is MIDI, which the Pod Go isn't. Both got headphone sockets, all the usual things like that. We had a number on the floor here, let me have a quick look. Again, the Pod has an overwhelming claim to how many effects it's got. It's got over 200 different kinds of effects in here, whereas I think this is more like 60 or 70 different effects. Again, are there even 200 different kinds of effects? I'm not sure. Both got loopers built in. HeadRush has a slightly bigger memory than the Pod Go, so shorter loops in the Pod Go. But if you're talking about the kind of looping that you do, where you just do like a 12-bar style loop, both completely fine. HeadRush could conceivably do entire songs, but
I think it's 20 minutes.
Yes, it's a bit crazy on that. And as you say, the switching, we'll get into the switches, because I think having more switches does give you the option on the Pod Go to maybe see it more as a pedal board.
Right.
Whereas on the HeadRush, you've got to sort of choose more carefully what you want those switches to do. So this first particular sound, if we turn off the compressor and the overdrive, so what we've done is we've taken both units here, we've tried to find something that's trying to be like a Fender Deluxe 1x12 combo, and then we've just added a little bit of reverb. Oh, speaking of reverb, that's the other thing that the HeadRush does that the Line 6 doesn't. are what's called trails. So that sense that when you switch either an effect off or you go to another patch, the HeadRush will allow the previous kind of reverb or delay to decay naturally. The Line 6 will have a sort of a slightly more abrupt stop and then start the next effect.
And I think it's worth noting that even it cuts it off even if you're in the same preset and you turn the pedal off, as opposed to just switching presets.
So here we go. We're not going to do 87 different amp models. Panic not. We're going to do something Fendery and clean and a little bit of blues. We're going to do something maybe a bit more vintage Marshall-y, a bit more rocky, and then we're going to do something high gain and modern. And maybe we'll change guitars, but we are using this beautiful purple PRS Silver Sky for this first segment. So here we go. Nice. Sounds like a little Fender amplifier.
More body on that one, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if we got a little bit more reverb on the HeadRush. Just wrong button. Hang on. Head to this. Just a stab. And again. No, it's about the same, isn't it? The HeadRush sounds more.
Let's do it. Equal test. Yeah.
Just like it's like filling the space a bit more, maybe.
Just wider frequencies.
Okay, so what we've done on both of these units here, we're in kind of like a stomp mode. They refer to them as different things, but the idea being as we press buttons, it's going to add an effect rather than change the patch. So what we've done is we've found a Tube Screamer clone on both of these, sort of set them up with roughly the same levels of gain. So let's have a little listen to same amplifier, but now with a bit of gain on it. I don't like the gain structure of the just do an A chord.
The pod feels scooped to me somehow, for some reason, and this feels like it's got more mids and sort of body.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, you guys are hearing this, and of course, these aren't. This is not the same two units. Line 6's interpretation of a Tube Screamer, and which Tube Screamer they're trying to interpret is probably different from the HeadRushes and all that. So I guess, there's an element of anybody that owns multi-effects, once you're up at this kind of level, will probably be screaming at the screen now going, if you just change this or tweak this or tweak. And everybody I know that has owns anything like this will tell me that it takes a while to get under the bonnet and find the good stuff. But anyway, look, we can also now with these add some compression in as well and just see what the sort of sounds are now. So here's an idea basically of still using that same basic deluxe tone, but with a compression and overdrive in the front end. I just find on the whole thing, I can't describe exactly why, but if you just talk about an amp that seems to fill a space,
right,
the HeadRush is filling more for me.
This is more enjoyable so far. See how the HeadRush was super quiet when I was super, like something about, I mean, we've got the compressors on, but that's still quite loud compared to.
So you think the dynamics of the HeadRush are more realistic than the dynamics of
well, that sort of funky, like ghost noted stuff.
I mean, I think round one maybe is going to the HeadRush here.
Yeah.
Let's now try and create a couple of Marshall patches with a little bit more high gain, maybe going for that sort of maybe 70s rock, classic rock vibe. So yes, see you back in a minute. So we're back in the room. We have selected the Pod and the HeadRush's version of a Marshall Plexi amplifier. We've set them up slightly differently. The HeadRush is set most of the controls fairly centrally. There would appear to be more gain in the HeadRush's sort of basic amp settings, so that on the Pod Go I've gained it up a little bit more, on the amplifier taken the bass end down a little bit more. But yeah, let's have a little listen. We've still got the same reverb on. We're both using their interpretations of a green backloaded 4x12, so like a vintage Marshall 412. Let's have a little listen to what the HeadRush sounds like. No additional overdrive pedals or anything in front yet. So
just spring reverb, time being. A chord test. Yeah,
it's a good classic rock tone.
Sounds great. Instantly darker.
It's weird. The whole thing seems to have just a. And I've turned the treble and the presence up quite a bit on here, so I don't think it's a sense that I just need to find more treble. I think there is just a natural, roll off of high frequency within the Pod Go. Keep playing.
They still have that mid-range thing that you want from a Plexi.
Is there any sense of you can control the gain from the volume successfully on both?
Good question. Oh. Really dark now.
Really dark.
That still feels like it's got less of a dynamic range to it on the Pod, I think. The low end thump of that is, I mean, you may not be able to hear that, but like in the room. Whereas Pod,
the HeadRush is here and like the Pod is just here, isn't it? Anyway, let's see, again, classic kind of thing to do with old Marshall amplifiers is lob a tube screamer in front of it. We're using the same pedals that we had on the Fender setting. So here's the HeadRush.
A chord test.
That's the tone on the pedal all the way up to try and get as much treble out, and it's still dark, isn't it? So it's a little closer, I think. I just don't think the Pod is physically, the frequency isn't there to reproduce, so it doesn't matter how much I turn the tone up or whatever, it's just not there.
That sort of like high-end fizz that you get from amps, this is nailing, I think, so far.
Yeah,
but like that has a nice, even though we're saying like so far this is, got more dynamic range, whatever. That is still quite nice and compressed. It's not a bad compressed. It's just a different.
Let's put some more. So this is now the compressor as well in front. You've not got a noise gate switched on in here, have you?
Nope.
No, and I know I haven't got the noise gate switched on in here, and it's interesting actually how much noisier the pod appears to be when you kick the drive settings in. So apologies, line 6, I don't mean to be giving you a bashing, but here's, you got volume all the way up on there? Okay, here's, that was the distortion, that was the compressor. If I go back to this one, volume all the way up, that's the distortion, that's the compressor. Fair play. Okay, right. Last one then, and of course this is, you know, there are dozens and dozens more settings that you could do out of these, but hopefully you're getting a bit of an idea. Now we're going to see if we can find a more modern high gain amp setting. So see you back in a mo. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we have chosen to use the interpretations of a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. Of course, you know, fairly typical modern high gain amplifier. And we are using vintage 30 loaded 4x12s, and we're now emulating miking it up with a SM57 on the 2. No pedals now, and gain similarly set on both amplifiers. So here we go, let's have a little look of, this is what the HeadRush sounds like. There we go, that's why
great.
we got him in. Let's try the pod. Doesn't sound that different, does it? Might hand this round actually to the pod. It's a bit fizzy, isn't it? Because is there anything we can do to, I mean, I've got the EQ, funnily enough, this is just how it was set when I dialed it in. They wind the bass down and wind the mid-range up on the pod as a standard setting.
Okay,
so what have you got?
Bass, mine's 19, pretty much the same.
So yeah, yours is wound down. Where's the mid-range?
60? Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. It's obviously like a sort of a genuinely sort of used setting. So let's try. So presence is actually quite a bit lower on the pod than you had it there. So let's see if that takes some of that fizzy. Actually, do you know what? I like the pod.
Same.
I like the pod on the high gain one. Let's add the tube screamer in again. Let's just go full kind of, you know, normal, what you would do to a modern high gain amplifier. Don't know now.
Yeah, the super top end, that's somehow getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it though on that particular sound. I'll tell you what was interesting. Let's go over to using a different mic. Let's use the ribbon mic. I mean, or what else have we got here? Have you got a 421 or something?
Yeah, let's try that. Yes, I do.
Just something slightly less fizz than a 57. Let's see what happens.
Keeping tube screamer on?
Yeah.
No, I prefer this one this
time. I mean, my kind of, this is the but this is the reality of trying to compare two units in like a 25-minute video. Yeah. You're really, really scratching the surface here. And I think we're just trying to give an indication of maybe do we prefer one or the other, but it's tough. I mean, I think with any of this equipment nowadays, it really is about getting it and getting under the hood and kind of tweaking. And of course, you could load in your own IRs. That would dramatically change things. You know, there's all sorts of EQ that we could do. So I suppose to a certain degree, you know, just take what we say in this video as almost like just a first impression rather than a definitive, this one's better than this one. But yeah, let's just put the compressor on so that we've got both kind of full, everything. So here's the, actually I'm not even, what was the verdict? We liked the 121 on here, but didn't really, sorry, the 421 on here, but didn't really like it on here. Let's try that ribbon. So I've got a, where was it on here? Oh, I'm changing the cabinet. I didn't mean to do
That's
that.
The one.
Here we go, I wanted to do that, didn't I? So I'm going, so many mics on here. I've got a 121 ribbon. Have you got a 121 ribbon?
I do now.
Let's see what that sounds like between the two with my Tube Screamer on. If I remember rightly, and now I think I just preferred this when it was on the 57, and then I've preferred that on every other mic model.
I agree. This feels like there's an amp there with that, like the sizzly top end. It's really hard to get on modelers.
All right, well look, I'm just going to literally turn everything on, and you're going to noodle away, playing till the guitar smokes out the fretboard, and then we'll have a quick roundup at the end. So
let's do drop D. Why not?
Yes. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have found that useful. I mean, John, I kind of, you know, you've been playing all these. I kind of feel a bit like the switching on the pod is very slightly more intuitive. So if I just quickly go over the two modes. So in its sort of patch changing mode, I don't think that the switching is particularly different on the two. The idea being is, you know, you go up and down through your banks with here, and then you've got 4 presets that you can recall from here. On the HeadRush, the idea is I need to be in its rig mode, and then essentially you've got these sort of like, you've got to press 2 buttons at the same time. So this one goes up a bank, and this one goes down a bank, and then you can kind of see in each bank you've got your 1, 2, 3 different. So similar, but I'm not a big fan of always having to press 2 buttons at once to do something, so maybe you give the pod a little bit of a win on that one. The other mode, which I don't actually know what the pod refers to the modes, but the sort of equivalent stomp mode, if you like. Again, the idea is each of these buttons just turns off an individual effect, and likewise the same thing's happening over here, except of course, this I can turn 6 effects on and off. This I can turn 3 effects on and off. This actually has another mode, which I don't think the pod has, called hybrid mode, where these two go up and down through your rigs, and then you just have 1 pedal per rig that you can actually turn off. I quite like that hybrid mode. So overall, is there a sense that one has a better switching system than the other, or is it just each has its own perfectly fine switching system?
I feel like for me, if I was to pick one for a job, this would be more of a like real tweak at home. Like, I mean, you could gig both of them, don't get me wrong, but there's something about the sounds that feel a bit more like fuller range and a bit more like true to the amps. But this is way more like gig friendly.
Right.
But say, you know, there's nightmare moments on a gig where something goes wrong and you need to just get back to what you're doing. This feels a lot less of a minefield if you're in that situation.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because essentially, right, I think what sort of John's inferring to there is, let's say, for example, you basically need to adjust the tone of your guitar amplifier in real time. As long as you've set this up so that, you know, the master menu is always looking at the guitar amplifier, you can at least bend down and you've just got these knobs ready to go to adjust it. Whereas wherever you are in this, the only control that you've got on a knob is the volume control, right?
Yeah, and once you get used to this interface, I'm sure it'll be fine. But the sort of the hands-on, like an ampness of that interface is a lot more, you know, guitarist friendly.
Yeah, it's interesting, that one, isn't it? Because I kind of think, oh wow, you know, I'm not doing the stuff that you're doing in the gigs, but I just think I like the sound of the HeadRush. I like the simplicity of the switching. I even like the fact it's a bit smaller, to be honest with you. I kind of feel like...
They're similar weight, aren't they, I think? They're about the same.
Let's be honest with you, yes, they're similar weights, and anybody who struggles to take one of these to a gig as opposed to an AC30 or whatever doesn't really know how lucky they are not having to lift an AC30. Good job. Thank you, John. I mean, should we finish each of these shootouts with a Daz-style challenge of which of these would you have if you had £400?
Right now, this, just because it won most of the tests, I think, for me. But having said that, the Line 6 definitely had some winning like combos of cabs, amps, sounds, whatever. But this one for me, I think.
Extremely diplomatically put there. Obviously, love to hear your comments below. If there's other shootouts of, you know, kind of similarly priced, similarly featured effects that you'd like us to do in the future, stick them below, because I'm sure we'll be looking for some more ideas next time John's here. But thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.